Welcome back to the Bits of Git Bootcamp. We're going to go ahead here, and at this point, you should have already installed the Heroku command line interface tool. To double check that you've done that properly, you should be able to go into your terminal and just type in Heroku, and you should see this output come up, which is just basically Heroku saying that you didn't give it any information for the command line interface, and it's telling you all the commands. But that's all right. And then the next thing that I want you to do is we're actually going to have to log into this command line interface because we want to attach it to the Heroku account that you also just created. So the way that we're going to do that, type in Heroku auth login, and then provide the email address that you used, and then your password, and then you should receive this nice little message telling you that you are logged in. Alright, now let's look over here to the left. Our end goal, if you remember, is that we want to be able to deploy an application that we have running locally to be on the internet so that it can run just given like a URL, right? You want to be able to access it anywhere from any computer. So you see here I have a very bare bones Express app here on the left. Let's just go ahead and make sure that that's working. Oh, I have to npm install. Alright, npm start here. Okay, and now in localhost we see we're getting our very elaborate response here from our Express application. Perfect. So now that we know that this is working, we want to make sure that the whole world can access this web page, not just from localhost. So the way that we're going to do that is using Heroku. So it's actually a really simple process. The first command we have to type is just Heroku create. And just like that, it's gone ahead and created a Heroku project for our Express application. This is actually like the project name, so to speak, or the instance name. Agile Island, this is just a random 2 strings that it generates and then a random number. So everything is unique, every deployment. And so you should be seeing something pretty interesting here. Not only do we have a URL where we'll be able to access our deployed application, but we actually also have a Git address here. So you see git.heroku, and then it's ending with .git actually. And the reason for this is because Heroku, as its underlying backbone, actually uses Git to move files around from your local development workspace to the actual final deployment. So this is really cool, and this is important to note at this point that a prerequisite for using Heroku is that your current project that you're trying to deploy has to be a valid Git repo. So you can see here that I'm actually in a Git repo already. I've gone ahead and done that. You can check to see if you're in a Git repo just by doing git status. And if you're in a repo, you should see a message like this. Okay, so now that I have created this Heroku project, I actually want to deploy my application here, my beautiful Express application, to the remote Heroku instance. And the way that I'm going to do that is saying git push Heroku master. And when I go ahead and execute that, you see these first few lines look really familiar to any git push, but then it gets pretty interesting. This is output coming directly from Heroku, and you can see it's saying that it detected a Node.js application, it's creating a runtime environment, it's installing the binaries, it's building the dependencies, aka installing node modules from package.json, and then finally we have our build being successful down here, and then finally it's launched, and so this has been deployed. So now we can actually take this URL and plop it into our browser, and we'll see that we have our same web page as what was before running on localhost, but now it's on a fully qualified URL that anybody can go to and visit and see our glorious web page. So as you can see, in a couple minutes here we just deployed an application, and it was pretty straightforward. Heroku is a very powerful tool. It is able to assume a lot just from your Git repo and figure it out. We didn't have to tell it explicitly that it was a Node application, it just detected it. Cool. So now another really important thing to notice though is that what it's actually doing is it's monitoring a branch from our Git repo, and we're pushing from one of our Git branches to their Git repo. So you can see here at the bottom what I've done is I've pushed from my master branch to the GitHub, or sorry, to the Heroku master branch. So just to illustrate this a little better, what I'm going to do is create another branch. Let's call this new feature. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add another route here. I'm going to go ahead and call this one new, and this one is going to return the greatest feature ever. Okay, so I've created this new thing. Now what I need to be able to do here, because Heroku is using Git, we actually need to create a new commit. So I need to do here, I'm going to do git status. We see that a file's changed. I'm going to do git add, git commit, and I'm going to say update with a new amazing feature. And now I've actually created a commit, and I've committed on a new branch as well, so I'm not on master. So this is going to be a little bit different as to how we're going to push this to Heroku. The first couple words are going to be the same, git push Heroku, but now instead of typing git push Heroku master like we did before, what I'm actually going to type is the name of my current branch, which is new feature, and then colon, and then the name of the branch that I want to push to, which is master in this case. But this is coming from Heroku. Like this second part is Heroku, and the first part is my local Git. So I'm going to just go ahead and execute this, and we'll see that it's going ahead and it's doing the exact same thing that we saw before. It's going to go a little bit faster this time because it doesn't have to install everything from scratch. And then now it's building, compressing, launching, done. Okay, so if this worked properly, we should be able to come back here. We still have our first page, and I should also now be able to hit this new endpoint that we created. And we see that indeed I'm able to hit that. Alright, let's quickly review what we've gone over. We've learned how to create a new Heroku deployment, and we've learned how we can use the Git to push our local code to the Heroku remote server, which is actually like what we're deploying. And so there's a couple things that we can talk about later as far as like more details in customizing your Heroku deployment, because obviously if you're creating a production app for a nonprofit, you don't want their URL to be agileisland99904.heroku app, right? This is going to be nonprofitname.org or something. But that kind of stuff is more advanced. At a very bare bones level, this is a very good overview of how you can use Heroku to deploy your application and start testing it in a production environment. All right, we'll learn more next time.